Good morning.
Hey, how are you, Josephina?
Fine, thanks.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Josie. Good to see you again.
Hi, same thing here.
Get time for a cup of coffee in between?
Yes,
Oh, good.
I love your classes, the way you teach. I'm kind of getting better, really getting better with the, Google Calendar and some of the doubts. That's what I'm back again.
Okay, that's great. I mean, a lot of people take the classes again because it's never the same twice anyway. So you're welcome.
Absolutely.
Anytime. Thanks. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Same thing
Hey,
here.
Natalie, how are you?
Good this morning.
Welcome.
Good morning, Wade.
Good morning, Wade.
Hi, everybody. Let's see who's there. Tracy, good to see you again, Tracy.
Good morning.
Okay, all right, so let me check in everybody. Let's see, Terry, I see you're here. Welcome. See. R. Sug. Hi, what's your first name?
Rochelle.
Okay, can I change your name here?
Sure.
Can you spell it for me? R.
Rachelle.
Michelle. All right, that way I'll know who you are. Welcome, Michelle. Sandra, hey, good to see you back. Karen, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right. Good morning to you as well. Hi, Janice. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's see. Jane. Hi, Jane. Good to see you again.
Yes, same here.
And Peggy, good to see you. Let's see who else is here. Janet, you there? So I'm going to call your names, and if you would just unmute and say hi. I'm partially making sure that I can hear you so that when you have questions that I know that your mic is working. Mick, you there?
Yes.
Oh, hi.
Hello. Good morning.
Welcome. And then Louise. Good morning. And Jerry.
Hi, morning.
Hey, Jerry. Good morning. Let's see, Marilyn, you there?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Right here, thank you.
All right, and Annie?
Yes, how you doing?
Morning, hey, great, thanks. And let's see, Becky's here. Hey, Becky.
Hello.
And we actually have two Josies here today. That's good. Welcome. Let's see. I've gotten to almost everybody. I see Bunny's coming in, but still connecting. If you want to show your video, it's down in the bottom left. Start video right beside the mute and unmute button. You don't have to show your video, but we'd love to see you if you're willing. I know it's still morning, so people aren't quite ready to make themselves be seen yet. Okay, Nancy is joining us here today from our support team, and she's going to help monitor the chat today. So Nancy, go ahead and unmute and say hi.
Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Nancy. I'm here to help you out.
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, I think I saw somebody else come in here. Oh, Bob, there you are. I thought I saw somebody else come in. How are you? So we usually take the first 4 to 5 minutes to kind of give people a chance to get here from any other class they might have been taking and to get your technology working. And it looks like pretty much everybody's here. Bunny is still trying to connect. Oh, can you hear me, Bunny? She still might be having trouble connecting in. We're going to go and get started with some of the housekeeping tasks. And that'll give a couple more minutes for some other people to come in that may still be connecting. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I'll need to move your pictures over to where I can see them. And my other monitor over here. Got a nice big crowd today, so that's great. So need lots of room to get all the pictures up. I will be muting whenever I start to hear background noise. It happens. We're all at home, so things happen. So before you ask questions, and hopefully you'll ask lots of questions and make comments, just remember to unmute yourself before you ask your question or make your comments, so we'll hear you. And also, we have the chat open that Nancy's going to manage. I'm going to open up a copy so I have it as well. So if you're having trouble with your microphone, you can certainly use the chat to reach us. And when I stop, or periodically, Nancy will read off anything that's in the chat that I haven't responded to. But if your microphone's working, just go ahead and ask your questions out loud. That way everybody else can hear your questions and I'll hear it as well. But if you're having any issues, just go ahead and use the chat. See some activity in the chat already. All right. So I think that takes care of the housekeeping. Let's go ahead and kick the class off. So this is Password Managers, why use one and how to find one. I want to thank you all for attending. Hope you enjoy the class. My name is Wade Yarbrough, and I'll be the guide for the class this morning. Very briefly about me, I'm from a small town in West Tennessee called Mason, Tennessee, just outside of Memphis. I have a degree in psychology and taught psychology at several different colleges along the way, but spent most of my career installing hospital information systems and training nurses and doctors how to use those systems. So I've done a lot of adult training, but what I like best about training with Get Set Up is that I'm training people that are here because they're interested in the topic, not because their employer told them they had to come to the class. So it's nice to be in that environment where we're all interested. And it's what Get Set Up tries to do, is to create a place where you can come and learn things you want to learn with other people that are interested in the same topic. Gives you an opportunity to interact not only with the guide presenting the class, but with each other. We like to create kind of a communal aspect to our classes. So please do feel free to ask questions and comments as the class is going along. The class is being recorded, and any participant can request a copy of the recording. To do that, send an email to help@getsetup.io. I'll put that in the chat in case you don't have that already in your email contacts. There's several other ways where you'll use that email, which we'll talk about at the closing after the class. We're also live streaming the class today, so I want to welcome anyone that's joining us via live stream. Thanks for joining us as well, and hope you enjoy the class. But do want to suggest that you register for some classes so that you can actually be in the class and ask questions of the guide and interact with the other learners and get that full Get Set Up experience. And finally, we're not paid to promote any products. We are purely trainers. All of our revenue comes from our training activities. Agenda for today. By the end of the class, you should know the problems with how we're currently storing passwords. You probably know those problems already. That's why you're here. We'll talk about something I'm calling the gold standard of password management. That's kind of where we're heading. We'll compare browser-based password managers with what I call true password managers. And we'll talk about how to install and use a password manager. And finally, we'll do a demo of one of the password managers so you can see one in action. I think that really brings everything together. A lot of what we're going to be talking about today is conceptual material, and sometimes it's a little fuzzy, but I think if you hang on through the class, it'll get clearer as we're going through it. And then I think the demo hopefully we'll pull it all together at the end of class. So the password problem. Once upon a time, most of us had 2, maybe 3 passwords, and we logged into maybe 20 different sites. So life was pretty good, wasn't that complicated. I know I had 2. I had one that I used for my financial accounts and another one that I used for everything else, and it worked fine with 20 places to log in. A fairly recent report said that now most people have over 50 different passwords that they're using, and that they're logging into around 200 different sites. So things have moved on and it's gotten much more complicated. And the stakes have gotten higher. A recent data breach investigation, and in this case, data breaches are cases where someone has stolen your username and password and used it to log into one or more of your accounts. And that 80% of data breaches are caused by either weak passwords and or reused passwords, using the same password in multiple sites. And this is one of the big problems because typically somebody doesn't get your bank password by breaking into the bank and finding your password. They get your password from some other social site that you're using. But if you're using the same password to get into Facebook that you're using to get into your bank, it's more likely they're going to steal it from Facebook and then go and try it lots of other places. And the first place they try and use it in is all the banks and brokerage accounts. So that's the problem with reusing your passwords, using the same password in lots of different sites. And this is background material I'm going to kind of go through here, but if you have questions about any of this, please go ahead, unmute and ask your question, make your comment, but otherwise I'm going to kind of keep going through this. So really the challenge then is twofold. We need to use complex, secure passwords so people can't hack our password. And we shouldn't be reusing our passwords across multiple sites. The problem with meeting that challenge is, one, we need a good way to come up with good, secure passwords. We're not very good, most of us, at coming up with good passwords. And then the bigger problem is remembering all those passwords. So if we all of a sudden now have over 100 different passwords that we're trying to remember, that is a fairly intimidating problem. So that's kind of where we are. So let's take a look at the ways we've been managing our passwords so far. Most of us, at least at one time, and a lot of us probably still, are using paper notebooks where we write down all of our account information, including the username and password in a 3-ring binder or some type of a notebook, and storing it beside our computer. Several problems with that. It's now getting tough to maintain with all these different passwords. Plus, more and more sites are requiring you to change your password at least once a year, sometimes now twice a year. So you're constantly updating that paper and it's getting really messy looking. Another big problem is that you don't have that notebook with you everywhere you go. So if you're traveling and you're at the hotel and you're trying to log into the computer, you don't have your passwords with you, or if you're at a friend's house, you don't have them. So, or hopefully you don't, because if you're carrying that notebook around with you and you lose it, then that's an even bigger problem. So paper notebooks are not a very good solution.
Wait, I have a question.
Sure.
Is it possible that you can record them and put them on a disc and take the disc with you?
You could, again, it's kind of the same way. You need to have it somehow password protected and saved away, because if you lose that disk and somebody gets it, then they've still got your passwords. You know what? I know somebody in one of the classes said what they did was to put them in an Excel workbook and then password protect the Excel spreadsheet so they can get to it, which is better. That way it is at least protected and it's easy to maintain because it's in a spreadsheet. But I think some of the ways I'm going to show you are going to be better than those. Yeah. But there are some other things that are steps above the paper and pencil. We all get fairly creative with things like this. The next bump up, it probably, I would say, is what I'm calling the browser-based password managers. And most, if not all of you are probably using this. You may not even know what it is that you're using, but all the browsers now, at least the major ones, have some type of a password management system built into them. So if you go to Facebook for the first time and you enter a username and create a password, something pops up and says, do you want me to remember this password, username and password? And you'll say yes. And then the next time I go to Facebook, it'll automatically fill that username and password in for me. That's your browser doing that as a sideline. And it works pretty well. I mean, it does keep up with all your passwords, and it automatically fills it into the site when you return to a site. It even recognizes if you change your password for Facebook, it will recognize that you've changed it and save that new password and start using that one. So it's definitely a step up in terms of managing your passwords. A couple of problems with the browser-based password managers, though, is that if you're using more than one browser, they don't share with each other. So for instance, if you're using Chrome on your desktop, but you're using Safari on your iPhone, then whenever you add a password to Chrome, it's not added to your phone. So you have to put them multiple places. If you're like me and you use more than one browser, don't ask me why, but I use 3 different browsers. I've got Firefox, Chrome, and Edge, all 3 that I'm using. So I would have to enter them 3 different places. So that's one of the problems with the password, for the browser-based password managers. Another is it doesn't help you on your smartphone. So you've got passwords with all these apps, and a browser-based password manager can't help you with your apps on your smartphone or your tablet. And the third is that there's some security concerns, or there's more security concerns, I would say, with a browser-based password manager, that someone could hack into that data center where all your passwords are being stored and get to them. Questions? Does everybody understand what I'm talking about with a browser-based password manager? Questions or comments around that one? Okay. All right. Okay, and we're going to keep building and coming back to these, but if you have questions, please just unmute and ask away. So the next step up is what I'm calling a true password manager. And there are a number of them out there, but what they all have in common is that true password managers are a software application that really is designed to store, manage, and protect your passwords. It provides access on all devices and browsers. So these they work in the cloud. If you're not familiar with cloud technology, we've got several great classes on cloud technology, but just very briefly, and I've got a diagram coming up that makes this make more sense probably. When you store something, it's in the cloud, it's stored on the web, basically, so you can get to it from anywhere. So any device that you log into and open a browser, you can get to your passwords, whether that's a smartphone, a tablet, a desktop, a Mac, whatever. It'll generate passwords for you. Most of the browser-based password managers don't generate passwords. All the true password managers do. It will help you with your apps on your smartphone. This is my password manager right here on my phone. So I've got it working on my phone. So if I need to log into Twitter, it has my username and password for Twitter stored, and it will help me log into my apps. And it utilizes what's called a master password to protect your passwords from theft. Something, again, that most of the browser-based password managers don't have. And I'll make a comment here that these browser-based password managers are getting better all the time. I've been following them for a while, and they are starting to look more and more like the true password managers. I don't think any of them are what you would call a true password manager yet, but they are getting better. They're always going to have the problems of if I'm using Chrome as my browser-based password manager, it's not going to help me with Safari on my iPhone or with any other browser. So that's one of the problems it will never be able to handle. But it's not, it's certainly a step above paper and pencil and most of the other ways people are using to store their passwords. but the true password manager is better. And this is the biggest thing, the master password. And let me try to explain that. This is complicated. I'm going to try and keep from getting too technical, but hopefully you can get the concept. Because basically with what a master password does, it allows you to encrypt your passwords and store them in an encrypted form so no one else can access them. So kind of how this would work is that if I'm on my laptop and I go into Facebook, I'll pick on Facebook, and I change my password, and my password is now live long and prosper. And I'm going to store that at the data center where I'm storing my passwords. And here's a diagram to kind of show how that works. I'm sitting here at my laptop and I change my password. It's going to store it in the data center of whatever vendor I'm using. It's called in the cloud, but that's what the cloud means. It's stored at a data center and I'm accessing it over the web. But before I store it, I encrypt it. And it uses an encryption key. And in this case, the key is this master password that we're talking about. So what's stored is gobbledygook like this. It doesn't have the actual password stored in their data center. So even if someone broke into the data center and found the file where all my passwords are, they couldn't use them because they couldn't read them. They're all encrypted. And the only way to unencrypt it is to use my master password, which is the encryption key. So when I need to use it again, I'm ready to log into Facebook over here on my desktop. I go out to the data center and I bring in that gobbledygook, but then on my desktop, I unencrypt it and turn it back into live long and prosper, and then put that into the Facebook login page. Questions about this? This is a little complex.
Excellent illustration. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's how it does all this is even well above my head as well. But conceptually, this is the thing. And a couple other points here while we're looking at the picture, which I think helps, is that and I'm going to use LastPass because that's the one that I use. That's the password manager I use. And it's easier to say LastPass than but if LastPass never gets my master password. So that's why even if somebody breaks into the data center, they can't find my master password and then unencrypt my information because it is never stored in their data center. I'm the only one that has access to that information. The encrypting and unencrypting is happening on my device. It's never sent over the internet to the data center. So if someone else could steal it, which also means since they don't have it, they can't tell me what it is if I lose my master password. So your master password is something you've got to really protect. What I tell people to do and what I do myself is to put it on a 3x5 index card and put it in your safe at your house or at your bank's lockbox. Put it someplace where if you ever forget your master password, you can get to it. Probably even more importantly, that if something happens to me, I'm in an accident and I'm incapacitated and my family needs to get into my checking account or my brokerage account, they can go to that lockbox, get my master password, and get access to all my passwords. If you lose your master password, again, your master password vendor can't help. Your password vendor can't help you. Like with Facebook, you just say forgot password, and you can reset your password. With most, if not all of these, if you forget your password, you start over. This is no longer accessible. There's no way to change your password. So that's why you want to be very careful and protect this to make sure you don't forget it. You got a way to get to it. Your passwords would still be here and they'd still be safe, but you would have to start all over and build a new vault. Okay. And again, if there's questions about any of this, and we're going to keep getting more specific as we go along. So if it's still a little fuzzy, hopefully it'll clear up, but please ask
Wait,
questions.
I have a question that's maybe one step back.
Okay.
You said that the password managers generate or can generate passwords. Is that the only way, or can you give them a password that you want to use?
Yeah, good question. No, you can enter it yourself, or you can ask them to generate one for you, and
Thank you.
I'll demo that for you when we get to the demo part to how that would work. But no, if you want to use a bad password, if I want to use, my dog's name is Elsa, so if I want to use Elsa for my password, they'll let me do that. So they don't force you to use good passwords. Good question. All right, let's keep going. We're going to keep drilling down here. So I'm going to talk about the gold standard that I mentioned. This is what all the experts say we should all be doing. And it's a fairly tall order. Most of us can start working in that direction. I'm certainly not there yet. But one is to have a unique, complex password for each account. So if I log into 200 different sites, I would have 200 different passwords. Each one would be unique and complex. That takes a while to do. And I'll talk about some ways to get there, the best way to get started to get there. Yeah, but your passwords are stored in a secure encrypted vault in the cloud. It utilizes a master password to encrypt and unencrypt your passwords. So if someone gets into that vault, they can't access your passwords. Your passwords are available on all your devices. So if no matter which of these I'm working, my laptop, my desktop, my phone, even a desktop at someone else's house or at a hotel, I can get to my password. So basically from any device that has a browser on it, I could get to my passwords. Passwords, additions, and changes are synced across all the devices. So if I change my password on my phone, it's immediately changed on my desktop and my laptop. And it'll work with either browsers or apps. So it works with the apps. So for example, I've got a iPhone, I've got a Kindle Fire, I've got a laptop, I've got a desktop. Everything automatically syncs. I can use it on all 4 of those devices. And the reason that works, again, is because of the cloud. If I change my password for Facebook on my phone, it's not just saving it on my phone, it saves it in the cloud. So now when I go over and sit down on my laptop, it pulls up the password that I changed with my phone because it's pulling it from this one central location.
So you're saying that it happens automatically?
It does, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so you don't have to push it to the cloud or move it to the cloud. It's all automatic and invisible to you.
So if I have a Kindle, it automatically goes to my Kindle?
Uh-huh.
I know it goes to all my Apple products, but my Kindle also?
If you're using a true password manager, we'll talk a little bit about maybe some limitations there. If are you using Keychain?
Yes.
Okay, that only works with Apple products. So that's one of the limitations of that particular password manager.
Well, I didn't know there were any others, so this is good for me. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, that is.
Let me ask you one more question.
Sure.
I know someone told me that when I go on and I get ready to make up a password, they always give me this encrypted code, but I'm thinking I'll never remember that. What if I lose it? Is that a good password to pick up?
Well, remember here, and I think this will be clear when I do the demo as well, but you never have to remember it because you never look at it. It automatically, when I go to Facebook to sign into Facebook, it pulls my username and password out of the cloud and it puts it in the Facebook login screen. So I never see that password. I don't need to remember that password. It's in my vault.
But for some reason, and I'm gonna let you go in a minute, for some reason on my phone, even though I want to stay signed in to Facebook, I keep getting kicked out and they keep asking me for the password.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what's happening there. Is that with Keychain or was it somebody else?
I don't know. I save it to Keychain, but then when I get on my phone, but I'm gonna call Apple because it's
that's some problems with Keychain in terms of working with different devices. And
yes.
In fact, Keychain doesn't really meet the true password manager criteria, but it's getting better and better all the time. But I do not count it as a true password manager at this point. Okay. And in the email that I send out after class, I'm attaching an article because there's lots of times questions come up about Keychain. So it talks about what Keychain does and what it doesn't do and compared to some of the others. So you may want to take a look at that article in the email.
Will do. Thank you.
Sure. So let's get a little more concrete. Let's talk about how these things work. And so you decide you're going to install a password manager. So you first go to their website, whichever one you select, and there are a lot of different ones. They're all good. And you create an account. You put in your information, you create a username, you create your master password. And we've already talked about the fact that it needs to be stored away somewhere safe, and it needs to be complex because this one you do have to remember. This is the only password you have to remember with a password manager. So it needs to be something you can remember, but it needs to be something that isn't easily hacked as well. So a little bit of a challenge there to get a good one. Okay. So you install that, and now when you log into a new site, it offers to save the credentials. This part works just like your browser-based password managers. When you come back to that site, it automatically fills in your credentials for that site. So these two things are the same things your browser-based password manager does. It works the same way. It will do some things your browser-based password manager doesn't. If you've got multiple logins for the same site, for example, I've got 4 different Amazon accounts. When I go to Amazon, it will show me my 4 accounts and ask me which one I want to log in with. So it'll allow you to have multiple logins for a single site. I'll demo that for you in a minute. They have browser bar extensions. That's what this is up here, which is just a shortcut way to get into your Vault from your browser. There's other ways to get there, but it's a nice little tool, and most of them have a browser toolbar extension. And then you just download it and install it on your other devices. So I mentioned that it'll work on multiple devices. You have to install it on each one of these. If it's a tablet or a smartphone, you've got to download the app. If it's either a Mac or a Windows device, you download a program to install. So there is an installation process that you have to do on each one of your devices.
And are all these password managers free?
Very few of them are anymore. In fact, that's screen after next. We'll talk about the different versions a little bit and talk about that. But most of them do have a charge now. The next step, and this gets a little, is converting and loading your password manager Vault. And one thing you need to do is turn off those browser-based password managers, because otherwise they're going to be fighting with each other in terms of who remembers your passwords and who puts them in the screens. It's a little different depending on which browser you're using, but it works pretty much the same way. This is Chrome I'm using right now. So if I come up here and click on the triple dot on Chrome and go into settings, and I think for all the browsers I've worked with, it's in settings. And you'll see something that says passwords, or maybe it says autofill. And in this case, it has autofill and has several different types of autofill, but passwords is one of them. So I click this, and here's where it says offer to save passwords, and I've turned that off. When you come in, it'll look like this. So you say, don't offer to save my passwords, don't automatically sign me in to account. So that basically turns off that browser-based password manager. And somewhere it'll also show you all the saved passwords that you already have. So this is where you can see the passwords you've got. So if you want to use that when you're loading them into your new your password manager Vault, you can see the ones that you've got here. So that's the first step, though, is to turn that browser-based password manager off. Then there's 2 ways you can load your Vault. One is just to kind of load it as you go, gradually add them. So the first time I go to Facebook, I'm going to have to enter my user ID and my password. I can get it from my here on my browser if I've got it in there. I could also use that as an opportunity to change my password and put in a better one. So maybe instead of finding and loading my old password, I'm just going to put in a brand new one that's more secure than the old one. However you want to do it. But you would just go ahead and each time you visit a site, you'd load it one at a time. I go to my bank, I'll load that one. I go to Instagram, I load that one. So it takes a little while, but it's very low tech. You just load them as you need them. The other way is to download that list of passwords from your browser into a file and then upload that file into the password manager software. This is a little higher tech, so you have to be able to download files, upload files, convert files. So that's another option. Most people go this route just because it's easier and doesn't require any technology to do, but just so you know, there's 2 ways you can go. All right, let's go questions. Let's stop for questions again. Okay. One other thing I'm going to go over, and then we'll get into the demo, which again, hopefully will make this all up more secure. There are a lot of different password managers out there. And in the email that comes out after class, I'm going to have links to 2 different articles that review the password managers. So you can do your homework there. I'll just kind of say, and I'll click into one of them to show you what they look like. But the top 10 from any review are all good in terms of they safely store your passwords. They smoothly put them into the sites as you're logging in. They all do the same thing at the nuts and bolts level. How they differ is in some of the other things that it'll offer to do. Like some of them will let you store your Wi-Fi password. You can store documents as well. So there's other things they do maybe that would lead you toward one versus another. But if you're going with the top 10 from any of those lists, any of those would be good. Let me just click into this one. And again, there's going to be a link to here in the email. But this is the top 10 password managers from 2021 based on this, this company. And they go into each one of them and review it. This is kind of a high level of their top 5. And these, especially these 2, are almost always in everybody's top 5. All 5 of these are in everybody's top 10. So these are all safe options, but they kind of go through them and rate them based on security, features, ease of use, customer support, value for the money, because most of them do have a charge. Until recently, LastPass was free, which is why LastPass is one of the most highly used ones. But about 2 months ago, they now charge. Actually, you can get a free one if you use it just on a computer or just on as an app. But if you want to use it on your phone and your computer, you have to pay. And they're all subscription services, and they're anywhere from $3 to $15 a month, depending on. Most of them have a basic plan and a premium plan. But again, these articles kind of go into that in detail. So it'll take each one of them and talk about why that's their favorite one, what it comes with. And so these are some of the other things I mentioned, things like dark web monitoring and a VPN, automatic password changing. These are features that some may do dark web monitoring, some don't. Some, this may be in their core package, some it's in the premium package. So, those articles will go over all that in a lot more detail. So let's demo and kind of hopefully show you some of this as how it works. So let me, I'm using LastPass, as I mentioned. So when I come in and I get ready to go to a website, what I do is click here. And I can just search for the website I want to go to. I teach at a college, and they use a product called Moodle. And type in 2 letters, it'll usually find it. So BCC, Brunswick Community College Moodle. This is where I want to log into. So I just click this. So this is one service it provides. I don't have to have shortcuts anymore to all the sites I log into. LastPass keeps up with all those. So I just click here. It types in the name, the URL to go to that site. I come up here and click login. You can see the little icon here. The box with the 3 dots is their icon, their logo. It's down here as well. This one means that there's one username and password in my vault that I can use. So I can just click right here and say fill. It fills in my username, fills in my password. As I was saying before, I don't see the password. I don't care what the password is. I don't need to know what it is. I just click login. And I'm into the site. I mentioned that you can have multiple logins. Let's go to Amazon, show you how that works. So if I want to log into Amazon, I click here. I type AM for Amazon. That's all I need. It finds some other sites, but it finds the one I'm looking for. Here's the 4 different logins I've got for Amazon. My account, my wife's account, and then 2 business accounts that I have. So if I want to log into my account, I just click here. It put my username in. It does have your username and password. We keep talking about passwords, but it does store your username as well. So it went ahead and put that in and took me to the next step. Now I've got to put in my password. So I have to, again, tell it which password to use. I'm logging into my account. So I just come here and say, fill that. And I sign in and I'm logged into Amazon using my account. So it makes it very easy to log into accounts. Questions about that so far? Okay.
I have a question. Why
Yes, go
would
ahead.
you need 2 different Amazon accounts, if I might ask?
One's my wife's account, one is my account.
No, you said work, 2 different work ones. Is it both your work ones or one is your?
There are 2 businesses that I owned.
Oh, 2 different, and you can't use one Amazon for 2 different businesses.
I
You
probably could, but I wanted to keep for accounting purposes, I wanted to keep all the bills and invoices separate
didn't
between the 2
realize that.
companies.
2 different companies. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't have to do it that way, but you can set up as many different accounts in Amazon as you want to. And so over the years, I have 4 set up. 2 of them I don't use anymore, but I just haven't deleted them because I don't have those businesses anymore.
I'd like to ask a question.
Uh-huh.
My name is Natalie.
Natalie.
You know, when you click on, when you put your password and use it and username, I saw how you hit that little box so everything could appear. And then on the next line, it says save password. Do you have to check that box?
Let me sign out. I'm not sure which.
Okay.
Let me go back. Was it on Amazon? You said this?
Right. Uh-huh.
So let me log back in again.
Okay, so right underneath sign in, it says, it got a little box and it says, keep me signed in.
Yeah.
Do you
I
have to
don't ever
check
check that because I wanted to enter the username every time.
Okay.
What that does, that has nothing to do with the password vault, but that's, if you click this, it'll remember the username and log you in automatically. But since it's stored in my vault, I don't need for Amazon to remember my username. LastPass has remembered my username. So that doesn't really do anything for me.
Okay, I thank you because that's what I've been using. I didn't know anything about a vault until I your class.
Doesn't hurt anything, but it doesn't really add any value if you're using a password vault.
Okay, thank you.
And again, if I wanted to change my password at Amazon, then I could just click this forgot your password and go through the process of creating a new password. But maybe I'm doing it because I want to add a new, more secure one. So when I click that and then it brings up the screen to enter my new password, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to change my password. But this is where I would go to and get a better password. So if I click up here, I can come down here to generate secure password. And this is where LastPass will generate a password for me. I tell it how many characters I want it to be. And sometimes they make it be at least X. You can always go larger than it says. So I'm going to go with 14, a nice big one. You can tell it what you want in that password. So if I wanted to have it just be uppercase letters, I can do that. Most sites now require you to have at least uppercase, lowercase, and numbers. A lot of them require a symbol or symbols as well. So this is the most secure password. So that's the password it's generated for me. I would just copy this and then come over here and paste it in the Amazon for my new password. And I've changed my password. That's one I would never, ever in my life be able to remember, but I don't need to remember it because I never enter it manually.
Wait, can
Wait.
you do, excuse me, can you do the same thing for your Gmail accounts too, or no?
Yep, any account where you are changing your password or any new account you're logging in for the first time, but if any account, they all have a forgot your password or change your password option. So you can go in there and go to the change your password, and where it asks for your new password, that's when you'd go and get your system to generate one for you. And
Thank you.
sure.
Steve, what is the selection all characters?
What is this selection or what?
The one that says all characters that you can use. You have the one clicked on easy to read.
Oh, well, so if I want to do one that's all characters, and in this case, it's not going to be able to do that because.
Oh, but does that mean it just would put the uppercase, lowercase numbers and symbols in it? I wasn't sure what all characters meant.
I'm not sure any character combination. Huh.
It looks that way.
Yeah,
It looks like it's
so it looks
everything.
like it does all of them. Okay, thank you.
I mean, this is where you can, this is mainly where you tell it, you know, if you don't want symbols in there, you unclick this and it doesn't put any symbols. It's just upper, lowercase and numbers. So I kind of ignore these, and it tries to make something easy to say, but I don't know that that's really easy to say. Ruponic crud, maybe so. But if you add in, and if it's easy to say, then it doesn't include numbers and symbols. But if my bank requires me to include numbers and symbols, I can't use that. So I just leave it down. Oh, okay, that's it. So easy to say only includes upper and lowercase. Easy to read, it can include all of these, I guess. But you know, I don't know if that's easy to read or not. Yeah. I don't ever pay any attention to it. I just leave it stuck set here. Okay, let me show you a couple of other things here. I'm going to go in and actually into the vault itself, so you can go to your vault, which in your vault is where all your passwords are stored. So this is where all my passwords are stored. You can sort them by name, A to Z. You can sort them by folder, by name in reverse chronological order. Most recently used. There's ones we just used today, so they're the most recently used, which is probably what you'd use lots of times. So I can come into here and I can launch from here. So if I don't have this extension or I don't want to use the extension, I can come into here. And this is how I could get to my passwords if I'm at my friend's house and I need to log into his computer to do something and I need to log into Facebook. I would just go enter LastPass in a browser and come to my vault. And then I could go to Facebook, wherever it is down here, and log into Facebook from the browser. You would just click this launch and it's going to open a browser and log me into Instagram. This is also where you can edit. So if there's something I want to do with this password, I can click this little wrench here, which says edit. And it'll show me all the information. It's the account that it logs me into, what my username is, what my password is. If I need to see my password, I can click this little I button and it'll show me the password. I know sometimes if you call support for a company, they'll ask you what your username and password is to verify your identity. So if I needed to tell them what my password was, I could come into my vault and tell them from here. And you can put notes as well in here. So for example, you know, some of the accounts make you use those questions. You know, what was your first car's color? What was the name of your first girlfriend? So you can put those in here. So if you can't remember those challenge phrases, you can have them in your vault and go and find them here. So lots of other things you can do here. And this and LastPass lets you save notes and addresses, credit cards, bank accounts, Wi-Fi passwords. So again, things other than just usernames and passwords you can store in here. Let me quickly show you. I also got it on my phone. So if I'm somewhere and I use it on my phone, I can click the LastPass here. And on my phone, I've got it set up to use fingerprint identification. So I did that. And so I don't have to remember my master password because it uses my fingerprint. That's an option. You can set it up so you still have to enter the full master password, but that's a little easier. So again, I can get to all my passwords here. So if I need to find my Facebook password for some reason, I can click here and have it show me my password. And then I could type it into a browser if I was having trouble. I didn't want to load it into a tab. I could just pull it off of my phone. And it also uses it on my phone to log into all those apps like we were talking about.
And how did you get to that on your iPhone? How did you program that to happen?
Go to the App Store and download LastPass, or whichever one you're using, 1Password or whichever Robo. Yeah, so it's an app. So on your, so like on my iPhone and my Kindle Fire, I have downloaded the apps.
Okay.
What is Moodle?
What is?
Moodle, you have.
Yeah, that's that's the site that the college where I teach uses. That's where you enter the grades and everything. For the
it's personal. It's personal with the college. Is that
yes,
it?
it's a product that lots of colleges use.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Wade, can you talk about how this a password manager would work if you've got, like, say, 2 people in your family, a couple? You don't need 2 password managers, do you, or do you?
That's a good question. As you can tell, my wife and I use the same one. That's why her Amazon account and my Amazon account in there. So, so it kind of depends on how you like to do things. You know, some people like to keep their stuff separate. So if you and your spouse want to have separate vaults, you can. I think it's easier to have it all in one. But if you don't want your spouse logging into your Amazon account without you knowing about it, then you could have separate ones. If you're comfortable sharing your stuff, then it's easier just to have one. That way she can get into my account, I can get into hers. And
Wade,
it'll work either way.
Wade, do you just pay for one account when you and your spouse use the same account?
Yes. So it's one vault. It's 1Password vault. So
okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the other disadvantage. If you have 2, you got to pay for 2.
What's Dropbox?
It's a cloud storage system where you can store files and things. Yeah.
It's similar to the LastPass, or it's different?
No, it's I don't know if you know about Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive. It's like
Google Drive. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a Google Drive.
Okay.
All right. Got time for one more question. Any last questions? If not,
I got my hand up.
Oh, go ahead.
Janice?
Yeah, Janice, go ahead.
How do I change the passwords that are bad passwords and put in these encrypted ones?
Yeah, that's where I was
I've
saying
got
you can
passwords that are all.
Yeah, you would just go to the site and and either click on forgot your password or go into where it says change password. I'll just click into here. I don't want to go too far because I don't want it to change my password, but it'll bring up a screen where it says enter the new password you want to use. And that's when you would go and get a password. And let me have to log out of here. Generate a new password. And then I would copy this and come back over here to Amazon and paste it in here where it says new password. Now, some of them have ways you can actually click a link here and it'll actually pull in a password and put it there. And those are some of the differences between the different ones. Some of them automatically will fill that password without you having to copy and paste. Some of them you have to copy and paste back and forth. But, But either way, you're generating a password in your with your password manager and then entering it into that Amazon new password field.
Great.
That
Thank
makes
you.
sense? Okay. All right. All right. Great. All right. Let me go because we're almost out of time here. And I know some people are probably going to another class. So I do want to go ahead and wrap up here fairly quickly. This is the end of the actual class. So I do want to thank you for attending and hope you enjoyed the class. And if you are sharing your experiences, a couple of related classes, we've talked about clouds. And so there's an Apple iCloud Basics and an Apple OneDrive Basics, which are related to cloud drives. Let me go to the closing here, and especially for people that are new to Get Set Up. After class, there'll be an email coming out with some class notes. And this is when you want to definitely get those class notes because it's got the links to the articles reviewing the different password managers, pros, cons, costs, to help you figure out which one you may want to try. There's links in the email to 3 other classes, and this is really makes it really easy to sign up if you want to take one of these classes. If you just click that link, it takes you straight to the login page. Makes it real easy to sign up for those classes. There's a give feedback link, which opens our feedback page. Only 2 questions: rate the class and rate the guide, 1 to 5 stars. You can add comments, and we certainly hope you will. Comments aren't required. So we hope you're enjoying using Get Set Up and interacting with the Get Set Up community. And if you'd like to get more involved with the community, there's lots of ways to do that. You can obviously spread the word to your friends and families and organizations you work with. Hopefully you're finding some of our interest groups and social groups and enjoying those. And if you'd like to host an interest group, we're always looking for people to host interest groups. So for instance, there's not an interest group for password managers. So if you wanted to create and host an interest group of people to get together and talk about using password managers, what's working, what isn't working, who's using which one, that might be an interest group that we could set up. If you're interested in doing something like that, just send an email to help@getsetup.io. If there's additional classes you'd like to see us teaching, help@getsetup.io is also the link to let us know about classes you'd like to see us offer. And as I mentioned already, you can use this email to request a copy of the recording of this or any other class you attend. Just be sure to include the class name and the date you attended. And the last link in that email is to view schedule. And if you click that, it'll take you to our website. Our website changed. Hopefully everybody's getting comfortable with the new website. Just going to call out a couple of things very quickly. Make sure you found them. If you want to get to your schedule, you just click here and it'll take you directly to the classes that you've booked. To get there, you could navigate to schedule and click my schedule. That's just a shortcut to get here. So it'll have all the classes you're signed up for. You can launch a class straight from here. If you know the class you want to take, something you're looking for, you can just type it into here. So we were talking about OneDrive. So if you're interested in figuring out what OneDrive is, you can click it here. It'll give you the name of that class and you can just click it. It takes you right to the registration page. 2 other things that are new with the website that you may not have found is there's a way to tell a friend about a class. So maybe you have a friend and you want to go to the class at the same time, be in the same class and take it together. So you can click here and send a link via Facebook, WhatsApp, or email and just say, hey, I'm attending this class. Why don't you come to the same class so we can do it at the same time, talk about it after class, whatever. And that'll send them a link to the class that you're signing up for. And finally, some other people have asked about finding other classes that the guide teaches. So if you go into About the Guide, there's a Classes I Teach link. And in this case, these are my classes. So these are the classes that I teach and when they're being offered. And you can just click book to book another class that I'm teaching, or you can go into this for another guide that you like and find other classes they're teaching. So it's a good way to find additional classes. Okay. All right. So I do want to thank you all for attending. I hope you enjoyed the class. I certainly did. And I hope I see you again in another class really soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, Wade.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good Easter.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Oh, shoot.
I want you.
Why did you choose LastPass?
When I got it, it was free, and it was the only free one. Now there's a charge, so that kind of went away. But I'm basically cheap, so I picked it because it was free.
Okay, thank
But
you.
it is a good one. I've been using it for probably 10 years, and I don't have any complaints about it. Thanks.
Thank you. This was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.